Remember these words, daughter of Hellas. The day will come when men with pale faces will burn the scrolls and say we had no hand in the dawn of wisdom. They will speak as though the Nile never taught the Aegean, as though our temples never opened their doors to your fourth.
When people think of ancient wisdom, they often picture Greece, the land of philosophers, democracy and art. But what most don't realise is that much of what became known as Greek civilization was built upon the deep foundations of African knowledge, especially from Egypt.
Now let's make this point clear so you understand this. Greek philosophy was stolen from Kemet, stolen from Africa. Greek mythology is African. That was there in place with the language of the Etruscans, the Minoans, the Phoenicians, all of that made up Greece and Rome. When you first get there, Homer, the book Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, black book. Hello, the white man couldn't fucking talk. Didn't Count Varney say we had to teach him how to speak? So how you gonna teach if the white man had to learn how to speak and wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey, then the white man is more advanced than what we're giving them credit for. Have you ever studied the Iliad and the Odyssey? And Hesiod's Theogony, the Argonauta. These are profound texts done by African people. So the original archetypes or architects of that particular realm were the Etruscans, the Minoans, the Phoenicians. The white man be like, look, ain't none of this shit ours. So we'll study it all. And we'll get further along in the research than Negroes, because they already know you're going to be sectarian. I'm only Egyptian now. That just means that you're just another fool in a fragmented faith. Hell, if it was raped for a damn 1,000 years, you know you're getting something inferior if you don't fuse it back together and reweave it in with the surviving text on the planet. We don't live in the modern world. So you don't live in a world where you can go to a complete system and get what you want.
The book Stolen Legacy by George G. M. James goes into detail about this. In the book, he made the bold claim that what the world calls Greek philosophy was not the original creation of the Greeks at all, but the borrowed and repackaged wisdom of ancient Africa, particularly from Egypt. And for those people who think he made it up, he was essentially repeating what ancient Greek historians like Herodotus wrote. He just went into more detail and provided more evidence. You see, before Greece became the centre of Western thought, its greatest minds, men like Pythagoras, Plato and Thales, travelled to Africa to study in the temples and mystery schools of Kemet, ancient Egypt. These temples were not just places of worship, they were universities, preserving thousands of years of spiritual, scientific and mathematical knowledge. It was there that the Greeks learned geometry, astronomy, medicine, philosophy, and the principles of divine order known as Ma'at. To quote historian and Egyptologist Theophile Abenga, Isocrates relates that Pythagoras greatly admired, as did many other Greeks, the devotion of the Egyptians. He then quotes Isocrates, who wrote, "He, Pythagoras, came to Egypt and became the disciple of the people over there. He was the first to bring back to Greece philosophy." End quote. Pythagoras studied in Egypt for more than 20 years. The mathematical theorem that bears his name was known in Egypt centuries before he was born, used by Nile Valley builders to design the pyramids. Plato too was influenced by the Egyptian concept of the soul's journey after death, which became central to his philosophy of the immortal soul. Even the idea of initiation into sacred mysteries, later seen in Greek mystery schools, was borrowed from the African priesthood traditions. Greek historians themselves admitted this debt. Herodotus, often called the father of history, wrote that Egypt was the source of Greek religion, and that the Egyptians were a black-skinned, woolly-haired people. Yet over time this truth was buried. Later, European scholars tried to separate Greek genius from its African roots, rewriting history to make Greece the birthplace of civilization, rather than a bridge between Africa and Europe. But the truth is clear. The light of Greece was first lit in Africa. The Nile was the original classroom, and the temples of Kemet were the first universities. What we call Western civilization didn't begin in isolation, but in exchange. It was essentially an inheritance from a much older, darker-skinned world, whose wisdom shaped the very foundation of human thought.